Today I'm going to repot this whopping big bunch of Coryphantha into this much smaller bonsai pot. I've mentioned before that when I'm going to take a plant from its nursery pot and put it into a more permanent pot, that I have a specific look that I'm going for. I see the finished picture as something closer to unified sculpture than simply a cool plant and a cool pot that don't necessarily work together or don't necessarily complement one another. The Coryphantha is a smaller kind of squatty plant, endemic to central Mexico, so I like the idea of potting it into a smaller kind of squatty pot, and this bonsai pot will do just fine for that. If you're doing the math here, you'll see that I have quite a bit of subtraction to do, so I'm going to show you how I'll do that. You may want to wear gloves for this, but I'm stubborn and my hands wouldn't know what to do if they weren't getting speared with cactus spines a couple of times per day. So I'm going to take it out of the pot, and loose soil in the bottom. We've got some roots you can see coming around the outsides. Maybe you can see that, probably not, but the rooting isn't super heavy. It's not very dense, just knocked off a pup. So I'm going to take that out, and there you see some roots. I'm going to start loosening that soil. The goal is obviously to get it down to such a profile as will fit into this pot. Something else I want to do, though, the look that I'm going for again here is sculptural, but this, in my mind, this is almost like a wave. You've got the larger one here, you've got the smaller pups around, and it's coming down and out. So I want to keep all of those little pups in there. I'm trying to avoid breaking them off or really reducing or changing the shape of the plant at all. So I'm going to keep on removing this soil. I'll keep as many roots as possible, but it's just good to remember that you will lose some in this process, and it's not a big deal. So you can see more and more of those roots as I break it apart. And they just keep coming. I'm probably actually going to trim these roots a little bit. That's a process. I didn't think to bring shears with me, but root pruning is a process. It's just like pruning a tree. You break, rip, cut, however you do it. It is best to cut, by the way. You cut the roots, and where there is one root, you cut it, it divides into two, so you're developing a more fibrous, well-branched root system, which is just a good practice for any plant. In general, you can take, if we were talking about a maple tree or a shrub outside, you can take a third of the top of the plant off without stressing the plant much, or you can take a third of the roots off without stressing it much. I don't want to take any percentage of this top plant off, but I'm going to remove probably close to a third of the roots in here in the process. So I think I'm getting kind of close. I'm going to prune a few more. The reason it's best to use shears or pruners, by the way, is just so you have less of a jagged edge on that prune spot. But really, these are such thin, fibrous roots already that I'm not going to terrorize it by just pruning them with my fingernail. I can feel there's a knot down here. That's probably where the original plug was in the pot. So let's see where we're getting. Whoops, broke off a pup. So that's where I am right at the moment. I still want to get this down at least another inch. I would like this rim of pups to sit just below the rim of the pot. So I'm going to shake it back out of there, try to avoid losing any more pups. I'm going to loosen it up beneath them, and we've got another fallen soldier. I'll end up just replanting those, by the way, into a much smaller pot, and they'll be just fine. So it's this kind of central knotty area beneath there that I'm working at right now. That's the low point that's preventing me from getting it down into the pot quite as much as I'd like. There's a little branch, don't know where that came from. So keep on loosening. I'm getting up into that knot area. I'm going to remove a little bit more along the sides. You can see the problem here is when I try to remove this along the sides, I'm dropping pups at the same time. That's right, there's another one. It's got several in there. I don't think I'm going to ruin the look of the plant by losing a few. I am going to pinch that big old root though and allow it to set farther down into the pot. See where we are here. That's getting quite a bit closer. I'm going to still try to remove just a little bit more. It's that knot that's presenting the problem, so I'll chew it away. You probably can't see it, but it's a pretty decent sized root in there, just about like a carrot, but I probably wouldn't eat it. So I think that probably gets me just about where I need to be. I'm going to prune a few more of these roots. I'm going to lose another little pup. And again, the root pruning is so that they're not all cramped into a clump in the pot, but also so that they continue to divide rather than just having single long roots. I'd like the roots to branch off, divide, and again, that the plant that has that better developed root system is better equipped to take up water and nutrients. So I think there's a little fallen soldier trying to hide. I think we're about where we need to be, but as you can see, the bottom of this plant or root mass is kind of curved like that, so I need to pay attention when I am potting it. And I'm going to add a little bit of soil to this side and then kind of maneuver it down into there so there doesn't end up being any large air pockets. If you have air pockets in there, it's going to lead to problems because the roots in that area are just going to dry out, and that's not going to be good for the plant. So I've got it. I'm going to have to remove one more of these. There it goes. It just kind of dropped down in. This is where we are. There's a little bit of soil here that I want to shove down in there. I'll probably take a pen also and clean up just a little bit of this. I don't necessarily want to see the soil when it's finished, so I'm just going to clean up the extra bits that are ever here and there. And then I'm going to take a little bit of this potting soil that I removed originally, and again, keep in mind the air pockets that you do have in there. You don't have a perfectly flat bottom to the plant itself or the root mass, so you are going to have to poke and get some soil in and around those roots to prevent those air pockets from drying out those roots. This is a pretty fine mix. It's got a lot of peat in it, and then really what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a little bit more in there just to close those air holes, but then I'm going to take a little bit of chipped granite and push that in there and kind of make a blend as I'm potting. And I'll show you what I'm talking about in just a second. So here I've got in my pretty pink cup some chipped granite, also known as chicken grit. What I want to do is put that into the corners of the pot. And then I will take the my tool and continue pushing in and around, making sure that I'm getting all those air pockets eliminated. I'll do it from each of the corners, keep on pushing it in, tucking it under, maybe a little more soil, maybe a little more stone. This pot, by the way, being a bonsai pot, does have, I should have shown you this before I had a cactus in it, a large grid of drainage there, so the soil blend isn't too much of a concern. It's a little bit peaty for my liking, and maybe for this plant's liking in the long run, but the pot itself has significant drainage, so there's no real danger. I just want to add a little bit of rock to help that drainage. Pack that in, and I'm keeping probably a ½ inch or so down here, and then I'm going to top dress it again with the soil, just because I'm sure purple and pink are a great color, but they're not necessarily what I want as the top dressing for my plant. I'll keep poking it in there. This corner needs some assistance, so I'm going to shake it a little bit, settle it in. Then I'm going